So it's been a while since I've posted anything on this blog, but I just wanted to give you a quick update and also discuss something that really annoyed me, and I wanted to share it with you. So anyway, a quick update. Spent a little bit of time with family. About the most exciting thing that happened there was I think I saw a skateboarding cat. So yeah, here's that one. The next thing that happened was went to the Prince Edward County.
This to the Ontario government. Nice paint job on behalf of that.
Did a little bit of running out there, see some family people, and then back to Toronto. So where I'm at right now is back at work again, and I wanted to cover something that happened yesterday. And you know, this is going to sound very bad, but at the same time I'm coming from a totally clinical angle, because you know, I think it's subjective to look at what happened. So long story short, in Canada last week we had a financial system failure. Actually, it wasn't even last week now, it was the week before. So for anybody that's outside of Canada and doesn't know about this, we have a system here called Interac, and the reason it exists is you've got banks that are connected to the internet that apparently are incapable of sending money over the internet. So because they can't send money over the internet to each other, they force customers to pay a $1 fee to this Interac company. Well, actually it goes to the bank really, but anyway, long story short, you pay a $1 fee, and somehow the banks that can't send money over the internet send money over the internet through Interac. As I say, I think it's an absolute boondoggle. It's not something that yeah, I think needs to exist, but anyway, it does. So long story short, we had this failure with this system, and it ended up such that you could send money out of one bank account, and that money would then somehow get stuck in limbo and it would not appear on the destination side. So what then happened was about a week went by, and I did a number of blog posts. I'll stick a link up in the card about this, and eventually the money showed up, but when it did show up, it was in the originating account, not the destination account, despite having written confirmation that it had actually been deposited in the destination account. And so, you know, I called out even before this happened that the guys at Scotiabank would probably be dishonest, because they've already taken a fee on the one hand to move the money, not moved it, refunded the original money minus the fee, and then they charge you another fee, but this time to move the money for real. And I know we're only talking $1 here, but it's the principle of it. You know, when you know that a bank is going to be dishonest and they actually follow through with that dishonesty, yeah, it says something about the character of the bank. So long story short, the left hand of the bank has lost the money, and the right hand of the bank, which is the collections agency, are wondering where this money is, and they're phoning me up and asking me for it. But of course the money's been inside the bank all along, just that they lost it. So what then happens is the money finally turns up and it gets deposited where it's supposed to be on the Monday, and then yesterday being Tuesday, the collections agency, they don't seem to see what the left hand of the bank now has, because the bank's got the money, they found their own money, they've deposited it where they need to put it, and on top of that, the right hand side of the bank is like, where's our money? Like they're just totally not clued in. Apparently their computers don't talk over the internet either. So where we ended up then was the lady that we were speaking to, she turns around and says something to the effect of, well, if you paid on time, then you wouldn't have these types of problems. And I'm just like, hang on a minute, so you as the bank have lost the money, but you're trying to blame the customer. So this raises an interesting thing, because it totally threw me off guard. The way that things normally work where customer service is concerned is there's something called the Nuremberg defense, and this gets its name from the 1962 Nuremberg trials. So the way this works, in Canada, the average bank is what's called amoral. So they have 3 rules. The first rule is it legal? If it's legal, it's okay. If it's not legal, it's not okay. The second banking rule is it compliant? Now, the thing to remember in Canada is the banking rules, a lot of the compliancy rules they have were actually fought for by the banks. So if it's compliant, it's okay. If it's not compliant, then they don't do it. The third rule in this is it good for shareholder value? So if it's good for shareholder value, they'll do it. If it's not, they don't do it. Now, this raises an interesting thing when you start considering, let's imagine the bank sets up a perfectly legal situation where they somehow know they can get money out of you that you otherwise wouldn't have given them. You might get upset about this from an ethical standpoint, but as far as they're concerned, it's totally legal and you have absolutely no recourse. Now, when that fails, then the next thing that the average customer service person will say when you complain about stuff is, it's not me, it's the system, or I don't make the rules, it's somebody else. Now, this ties back to the Nuremberg defense from 1962. So how this works is, you've got in 1935, I believe it was, the Nazi party in Germany suddenly decides to make, anti-Semitic laws, and they were called the Nuremberg laws. And those laws, just wait for this loud thing to go by. So these Nuremberg laws basically allowed, from a legal standpoint, the Nazi party at the time to start, their extermination process. And this has a big ramification, because what then happened is you've got people who were originally your neighbour going around rounding up your other neighbours, shooting them, gassing them, lots and lots of war crimes, well documented, who later in 1962, during the Nuremberg trials, basically argued that even though they were the ones doing the acts, it's not them, they're just following orders. And so Yale University in 1962, a guy by the name of Stanley Milgram was doing a set of studies about this precise problem, trying to work out, why do people who are normally rational suddenly become grade A dickheads, right? So fast forward to 2016, a similar study was done where they drilled into this a bit more, and what they basically found is that from a mental standpoint, there is a psychological disconnect between those giving the orders and those following the orders. And whilst it's not a watertight argument, there is some validity to it. So the next time you're on the phone to somebody at the bank where they're trying to screw you and they say, well, it's not me, it's the system, or don't blame me, I'm just following orders, this is the Nuremberg defense. So that's what I would normally be expecting from the bank, because it's actually a standard psychological response. Any rational person knows that, the person doing whatever it is they're told to do, they're going to try and distance themselves from it if it's not ethically right, or, they're not being a good person from a human standpoint. So when the person turned around and said that, this wouldn't have happened had you, put your money into the mortgage, I'm like, hang on a bit, this person's unhinged. It's a totally different argument to what you would expect from a psychological standpoint. So anyway, that's what I wanted to bring you up to speed on today. I'm going to put some links down below, and feel free, leave some comments, and speak to you soon. Bye.